Yeah. Good evening to you all. As Ramesh mentioned, uh, we are starting the session Embody from today. Last session, you heard how eloquently and with so much clarity Ramesh has revised both enrich and excel in a beautiful manner. A tough job of, I think, 24 sessions, Ramesh, put into just an 1 hour slot. I hope you were all able to listen to that, even if you were not present, because that will set the base for the rest of the Embody sessions. Because in this Embody sessions, this series of talks, you're not going to learn anything new. You're not going to learn anything new that you have not learned in Excel and Enrich programs. It's actually putting those things or the concepts that you learned into practice, not just to overcome some of the challenges or certain things that you're facing in life, but I would like you to see how you can look at these practices that we're going to put forth in these Embody sessions and look at it as a way of life itself. It's not just looking at mindfulness as a way of life and the rest of these rewiring tools that we're going to bring about. By the way, it's a beautiful quote. I like this quote a lot, by Marcel Proust, who was a French novelist, but he didn't get to fame as much as he should have. And they say it is only because of lack of self-discipline in him. There is some significance in this. You can say a whole lot of things, but if it is not practiced, it doesn't do much. So it's really important to be able to put these things into practice. Not once in a while we face challenges, but try to look at it from the perspective of improving our quality of life so that we make these tools as a way of life itself. So let's go through a thought experiment. Supposing if only I had, let us say, done a survey of several thousand school principals all over India, and not just all over India, in any part of any country for that matter, if I had surveyed them and asked some of the questions, like some of the challenges that they go through. Just imagine this, it's a thought experiment. And I would think these are the answers that they would give. What is that? What are the common challenges that usually people go through? You can relate to this. We're all happy, but we want to be happier. And definitely we want to harmonize our personal life with our career, professional life. The more we can balance and harmonize, the better it is. We all know this. So these are the challenges that we're going through. And if we have kids, whatever age they may be, we want to make sure the kids are better off than where they are, and even more so better off than us. That would be our desire, wish, hope, and prayer for all of us. And as I keep saying, much more than health and wealth, it is our interpersonal relationships that are so important. We want to keep improving these relationships. Definitely, we want to find time to be doing things what we really like, not that what we have to do. This is not just for adults. This is not just for principals, from kids to anybody, especially this. All of us want to be doing things that we like and what we want to be doing, not what we have to be doing, right? And last but not the least, we want to be less stressful and we want to be less anxious too. So this challenges, I say, are no-brainer, right? So if that is the case, it's still a thought experiment, mind you, then how do we figure out the solution for these challenges? What are the possible solutions? We say if things go our way, then we are really happy and happier than where we are right now. Only if things go our way. And to harmonize and balance our personal and professional lives, as long as things are under our control, we say, then we can balance out our personal life and our career life. And we want, as long as the kids are at the right school, or at the right college, or at the right job, then we know the kids are better off. That is how we figure out these possible solutions. And to improve our interpersonal relationships, this is the funny one. And then we keep wishing and hoping, saying that if only I had more supportive spouse, more supportive colleagues, more supportive friends, I definitely know my interpersonal relationships would be so much better off. I don't need to think and worry about it. And if we can figure out a way to do the things, to do only the things that we like, that is what we are wishing for. And definitely, we think to be less stressful and less anxious, we feel if we had better, if we had better help with our mates, better help with our drivers or our assistants or our secretaries, or if only the working conditions are better, then we won't have as much anxiety and we are not going to be as stressed out. Great things, great possible solutions. All of this we are trying to do to, why? Because to enjoy life to the fullest extent, to be able to utilize our potential to the fullest extent possible. So let's park that. And I want you all to answer the next 3 questions with just yes or no. That's all. You can just mark it down and see. Let us see how many people would say the right answer, okay? Can we be neurosculptors by right thinking? I'll give you a few seconds. Mark it down. Yes or no? Okay. Can we be neurosculptors by feeling positively? Yes. And lastly, can we be neurosculptors by saying the right thing? Okay. I don't even have to ask your answers. Whatever you have written, whether it is yes or no, you are correct, but not fully correct. Because the right answer to this is both yes and no. How can that be? Yes and no? Absolutely, we can be neurosculptors of our lives if we think the right way, if we feel the right way, if we feel positively, and if we keep saying the right thing each time and every time. Yes, we can be neurosculptors, but only on a temporary basis. If we need to be neurosculptors and carve out our lives in a permanent manner, on a long-lasting manner, it cannot be just by right thinking, cannot be just feeling positively or saying the right things. All these things need to be followed by our actions. Extremely important. This is the reason I brought that first quote by Marcel Proust. He said the right things. He wrote the right things. He was quite successful. Otherwise, we wouldn't be still uh, reading about him, and quoting his sayings. But yet he was never as successful as he would have wanted to be, only because of his self-discipline. Self-discipline doesn't end at thinking and writing and feeling and saying the right things. It's only by doing the right things. All of these things need to be followed by actions. So just thinking, feeling, saying right things is not enough. And all these things need to be followed by actions. So when do we plan out to do these actions in a proper way? Of course, not in the future when we have more time, or we cannot say I have done it in the past. That should be enough. But it's always, and always, it is here and now and here. It's in the present moment. We need to be acting upon it, not planning in the future, not reveling in the past, what we have done, good things, but doing everything the right way, thinking the right way, feeling the right way, saying the right way, and doing the right way right now and right here. It is so simple to follow when we put this in such a logical, structured manner, but we all know how difficult it is to practice. Because when we're talking about this to the kids, in one of the Kids for Kids' Sake project, I'll bring one more family member, Anita, here, because I still remember Ramesh's son. He was a young teenager, probably about hardly a teenager, I think, 12 or 13 or 14. And he said, I can understand all of this, but to be thinking about it every moment, to be conscious, it takes so much effort and energy, Auntie, he said. I still remember that. And he was so true and honest, That is why many of the adults let go of such simple practices, thinking, oh, it is so easy and it's so boring to be doing the same thing, sitting at the same place. Only thing we don't say is to close one of the nostril and not the other, none of that, just to watch your breath. We say, yes, it is boring. But when you really taste the results of it, that is when we will stop making such negative comments, because it will affect us. It won't affect others. It will affect us to begin with. So the first and foremost importance is to be intellectually convinced beyond doubt with any of these rewiring tools that we're going to bring forth to you. If you have any doubts, please make sure and get rid of the doubt so that you will be able to practice in the most sincere, and not just sincere is not enough, but in the most joyous way too. So how do we do this practice? And why? More than how? Why is this difficult to put it into practice? Because we already have certain hardwired habits within us. These hardwired habits are automatic. And we are at the mercy of our old, unwanted, limiting habits. We have not realized it. And we are at the mercy of our old ways of thinking. And we are at the mercy of old ways of feeling and old ways of saying and old ways of doing too, because all of these are hardwired. If these habits are the good ones that we have thought out and then made it into a habit in a deliberate manner, let it stay like that. But we see many of them are not well thought out. It has just happened. And these habits have happened because of our beliefs, which start from when we are kids, or what we have heard from our parents, from our teachers, and we don't put that, and we don't question those beliefs. We don't even realize as adults these beliefs have become limiting beliefs for us. If only we question our own ways of our own habits, our own ways of thinking, and even the words are very, very important. We will see that later. So if these habits are hardwired, we have learned that through the process of neuroplasticity, we can rewire these hardwired habits already. So we're going to present some of the rewiring tools, starting with mindfulness today and few others as we go along. So what is this mindfulness? It's nothing but training our mind, not controlling, but training, and training leading to conquering our mind. It's a beautiful term in Sanskrit. It says Mano Jayaha. Mano Nigraha is controlling the mind. Mind training is different, not controlling. But conquering the mind is Mano Jayaha. And when we start doing this, it is all about freedom. As soon as we say, the first thing that comes to our mind is freedom for the senses. No, it's not about that, but freedom from our own mental automatism. We will go a little bit deeper into this. Whether we know it or not, we have this automated loop, habitual loop, and we are in that comfort zone. We don't even test our limiting beliefs, and even with what we say for even ourselves, you know. And mindfulness is all about coming out of this habitual loop and deliberately, consciously, willfully putting certain thoughts, putting certain thought patterns, making newer habits, making newer wanted and good habits. As we do, evaluating ourselves and repeating it again and again and again. The only thing here is practice, practice, practice. For this, again, I like to use certain Sanskrit terms. It's so beautiful. Rather than practice, practice. It says abhyasa, abhyasa, abhyasa. So I just want to share a couple of research that has been done both in US and in UK. These Harvard psychologists, Killingsworth and Bird, they did a survey and they did a study, which we're not going to get into the details of that, which is not important for us. But they found out with their research that an average person, he spends about 50, almost 50% of his waking hours, mind you, waking hours, in what they termed it as mind wandering. And the human mind is a wandering mind. That's why we say human mind to a monkey mind. So we need to train our minds from a monkey mind to, I jokingly say, to a monk's mind. So highly disciplined. And we know a wandering mind what we call it as wandering mind. Also, the autopilot mode. Most of the times we are on autopilot mode. We need to train our mind mindfully, in a mindful mode or a conscious mode, or what I would like to call that awakening mind. In a similar manner, in UK, Williamson and Seikl, I don't know how to pronounce it. Let me just say Seikl, I guess. In UK, from Action for Happiness, they also surveyed several thousands of people, and they came to the conclusion after collecting the data, said 96% of the 3,000 people that they surveyed admitted themselves, it's self-admittance, that they were on autopilot mode. 96% of the people. And if you combine the two studies together, 96% of the people, 47% have 50% of the waking hours, we are on autopilot, or our mind is wandering. And again, we cannot lead a fulfilling life when we are on autopilot mode, because we start making, and we get into the habit of making non-conscious and automatic decisions many a times, which we regret later when we are on the autopilot mode. Just understanding this, if we need to improve our quality of lives, if we just pay attention to this, not even to the tool, we can have our own ways of coming out of that autopilot mode. But we are going to make your lives easier by giving you certain tools which are time tested and proven tools to be able to come out of that autopilot mode. So all this means is, just because we think certain thoughts, not necessarily all such thoughts are true. And just because we feel it's our feelings, we don't have to act upon those feelings and emotions, because emotions and feelings are not facts. So this is to remind you of one of the earliest neuroscience concept which we brought in the very first session, saying that all thoughts are not true. So if that is the case, then what is it? What is it that is preventing us to utilize our own innate potential to the fullest extent? Again, I'm going to quickly go through some of the next few slides. This is just to recap, to be able to look at how to use mindfulness as a tool and a way of life. I've just picked some of the concepts, and in context, when you go through these things, it will make it much more easier for you to be able to accept this. So I don't have to say this, because of our negativity bias, we have plenty of automatic negative thoughts, or our ants. And these ants are the ones that prevent us to be in the present moment. We have already gone over this umpteen number of times. So some of those ants, and especially defending, focusing on the negative and blaming. I picked those three out of all, not because we have compared it to the termite population in nature, because for leaders, these three we need to keep in mind. Because, of course, as leaders, we don't want to be defending, we want to set things right. But yet, without our knowledge, because of lack of self-awareness, we keep focusing on the negative things that are happening rather than something side by side. Many of the positive things happening, but because of not such great self-awareness with respect to this aspect, maybe we keep focusing on the negative things, and so we start blaming. And we rightly know, as leaders, we cannot blame others, so we start blaming ourselves. Just want to bring this to your notice that even self-blaming is also part of negativity. But we have learned as leaders, it is not proper to blame others or the circumstances, but take the onus on ourselves. Just shifting the self-blame to taking the responsibility. The actions might be the same, but at our thinking level, at our feeling level, which is going to reflect upon others too, we need to come out of that, even that self-blaming game. And we need to watch out for these ants, because these are our hardwired habits. And not only that, these habits, when they are hardwired, they just don't remain as thoughts, they become thought patterns. And not only as thought patterns, they change our attitude for such circumstance, not necessarily our entire personality, our attitude towards certain things. We might be positive when it comes to being with friends or being with family, but when it comes to our career, our attitude might change if we are going through those challenges, focusing only on the negative things, not defending, and probably self-blaming. Just to keep that in the back of your minds, because very important as leaders that we need to figure this one out. And we have gone through this. When we have unchecked, unlimited ants coming one after another, we know we go back and forth between past and future, and we look at past with regret, and the future is filled with anxiety and pessimism. And whatever is happening in the present moment is not satisfactory for us. So how do we come out of this negative conditioning because of our limiting beliefs? All this hardwired negative conditioning, how do we and why do we need to rewire into something more positive? Beliefs, positive thoughts, and positive feelings. And we cannot just stop at thoughts and feelings, thinking and feeling, but they have to be followed by action. When it's an action, it's not a stage to reach, as I keep saying, it's a journey. When it is a journey, and especially as leaders, ask for help when things get tougher. When we ask for help, it's not because we are weak. We ask for help to stay strong. And not only to stay strong at an individual level, as leaders, we have a bigger responsibility to stay strong as a team, to stay strong at the organization level, and to stay strong to work towards the cause. So with this introduction, we're going to move into mindfulness itself. I've done this even last year, so I'm going to quickly go through in perspective. We're going to focus how we're not just looking at mindfulness as a tool for rewiring, but as a way of life itself. So from technique to a lifestyle. And of course, we all know how powerful it would be if we know what we are thinking as we are thinking. And it will be so powerful to know what we are feeling as we are feeling. Not much later, no analysis, that is where it takes up a lot of time, energy, and pulls us down. If we can figure out a way, whether it is positive or negative feeling or neutral thoughts or whatever, as it is happening, if we can think and feel as it is happening, and not only that, and can we choose our thoughts and emotions and feeling, those that strengthen us, and put those into action. Extremely important. And lastly, to help choose some of those afflictive thoughts and afflictive feelings, which will not only affect us, but affect everybody else, because we have the role as leaders. We have even more of a responsibility there. Can we, as it is happening, can we choose our thoughts and feelings and actions that strengthen us? And can we choose the ones that cause us suffering? So I think I'd like to show you a video. I hope we'll be able to get through this. You'll be able to see. Can you see the video and hear?
We can't hear, Auntie. You might have to. No.
Oh, you cannot hear?
There is one small thing which you have to enable. I will tell you. Mary, do you know? It's called.
Check my account.
No. There is one there used to audio settings. No, not audio settings.
I think we have to share it as a
Now, let us see. It said share sound. I had have clicked on that. Let us see.
There's something called use computer sound or something like that.
Let's see. Can you hear it?
Yeah, perfect.
I got it.
There's a story, usually attributed to the Native American tradition, which illuminates different ways of paying attention. An elder, talking to a child, says, "I have two wolves fighting in my heart. One wolf is fearful, vengeful, envious, resentful, and deceitful. The other wolf is compassionate, loving, generous, truthful, and peaceful." The child asks, "Which wolf will win the fight?" The elder responds, "The one I feed." That doesn't mean we try to deny or hurt or kill the angry wolf. If we did that, we'd end up in a long battle, all the while somehow making that wolf more powerful through our hostility and fear. Hating that wolf sucks the strength right out of us. Instead, we calmly pay attention to the angry wolf and let go of believing they have the answers. If we can do that, they end up lying down next to us, no longer an enemy. We help strengthen the kind and loving wolf, giving it nourishment and support so that we can follow it. That peaceful wolf can become our steady companion and show us the way through all kinds of different life experiences. Restful or chaotic, enjoyable or disappointing experiences may come and go, but we can have a guide with us through it all. This is what mindfulness can help you do. Mindfulness allows us to see our thoughts and feelings as they are beginning. It's very powerful to know what we're feeling as we're feeling it, know what we're thinking as we're thinking it. With mindfulness, we can choose what will strengthen and bring into action, and we can choose. We don't have to be at the mercy of old habits or old ways of thinking or old ways of being. We are empowered. It just takes practice.
So very powerful
Very
animated. I really like that a lot. Anyway, can we make that peaceful wolf our steady companion? All it takes is practice. Not some practice, a lot of practice. Abhyasa, 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 doing it again and again and again. As long as we are enjoying this, that is where we have to make the path itself as the goal. Otherwise, if we just focus on the goal, it gets boring. If we make the path itself as the goal, then we start enjoying this practice. Then it will have even more of beneficial effect. That is when it becomes a way of life. If we just look at it as a tour, we practice for some time, we get bored, we stop, we start again, and then how long do I have to do all of this? We keep asking these questions again and again, until and unless we make this as a way of life and make path as the goal. This is one of the Yogakshema's tenets, concepts that we strongly believe. How do we make the path itself as the goal? When we start enjoying every moment. Each moment is the ultimate moment. That is what it means by path, making the path as the goal or the journey as the destination. So moving from autopilot mode to mindful mode is the way to go. For this, we need two approaches, both outside in and inside out. The easiest is the outside in approach. How? This is where our language makes so much of importance. It makes a difference. Our words makes a whole lot of difference, because words are really, really powerful. Yes. You're muted, Jarna. You have to unmute yourself.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm hearing it out and just lot many things getting back to me. But this point, which is stopping me from appreciating and understanding further.
Yeah.
Because in the morning also, with my staff, because being Saturday, it was a little bit easy day for us. So we were just talking about constructive feedback and how to take it up. And before we started to read that article, I recall I asked all of my colleagues and subordinates, how do they feel when somebody gives them a feedback? And I observed that when we guys, including I also, when we started to interact, it is difficult for us to distinguish between feelings and thoughts. And over here also, that ma'am you are talking about, it's a lot about feelings and thoughts. So I need to understand what is the fine line of difference feeling and thinking. For us, it becomes one, but it's not one. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very good question, Jana. Because see, last longer. Thoughts are fleeting. This moment you might like a person, the next moment, how could she do this? That's at the thought level. Feelings are expressed at the level of body as sensations, and it is long lasting. It's not momentary. And for the feelings to arise, if it with a stranger, we say we feel, oh, so nice, but there is no reference point if you're meeting the person for the very first time, right? So at that time it's at the thought level, yes, but feelings are truly expressed at the level of the body, and they last longer. And feelings are also based on the experience too. So when one of the definitions of mindfulness, you'll be able to understand this better. For now, if you have understood, I'll move on. If not, this is extremely important, Jarna, what you did, because if something is preventing us to accept wholeheartedly, I can assure you we will never ever even try to put this into practice. Everything stays at the intellectual level, and that won't help, because we know only temporarily it will make changes at the level of the structure of the brain.
Thank you. I did get it, and I can I can feel it myself. The distinction itself.
Yes.
Thank
you. A good one. So we were talking about outside in approach and inside out approach. As I was saying, language, our words are very important. Can we start speaking, feeling in a kind manner? First, it has to start with ourselves. Then only we can mirror that with others. That is why self-blame, yes, it is a way. Leaders have to take the blame on themselves. We are so used to hearing this for decades, and then we have put it into practice. Yes, but it's a very limiting belief. If we can change that rather than blaming ourselves, to change that, whatever I'm doing, it is not working. Can I change the course of action? Can I see how I can change the course of action for the whole team, not just for myself? That's where that outside in approach, talking in a kind manner, really is important. I'm going to request Ramesh to add that on, as we're doing attitude of gratitude also as a rewiring tool. Also, how kindness matters so much, because I remember a quote from Dalai Lama. He says, be kind each time and every time. And then he says, is that possible to be kind each time and every time? He says, absolutely. I'm not paraphrasing it the proper way. There is a particular way, I cannot remember his saying. He says, yes, it is possible to be kind each time and every time. We need to work on that as much as possible. But here it is, Jana, when we are trying to give constructive criticism, this is where, as long as we are separating the person from the actions, and as long as we know to the core that there is no iota, we are not mixing up the action with the person, ultimately it might take some people, they will be able to get it right away. For some people, it might take long. For some others, might take longer. But as long as we know that we have separated out the person from the action, it will have the right effect. This I can assure you. So that's outside-in approach. And the inside-out approach is understanding how all of this has the effect of neuroplasticity on ourselves, so that the very structure of the brain changes, resulting in the change in the function of the brain too. That is the inside out approach, and that is what we are providing. Usually when we attend workshops and whatnot, we get it from trainers. It's usually the outside in approach. That's why we would like to say we are educators. We want that inside out approach. Understand wholly, completely why is this needed? And when you get to the why, it automatically leads to the inside out approach. And apart from that, this is the surest way to increase our self-awareness. Because many a times as leaders, we don't realize it. May be the self-awareness could be in a limited manner for certain things, or for certain people, or for certain activities, or certain times. Can we broaden this and then be self-aware more, if not each time and every time, most of that time? And it is possible. And the surest way is through being mindful, but not once in a while. It takes, honestly, years and years. And I have Vasant, who is also another faculty of Yogakshema, who is going to be dealing with other tools here, who can attest to this. And he'll be rightly speaking about mindful living, because he is practicing this mindfulness for years, I should say, for both of us, like decades. It takes decades. That does not mean, oh my goodness, I just want to solve this little challenge that is happening in my life, is all what we are focusing. But broaden your horizon. So this is where, when it becomes a lifestyle, truly from inside out, it changes not just our lives, but the lives around us. This I can assure you, and I'm sure Vasant can too. So we're going to get into 3 ways of looking at mindfulness. This is the classic definition of mindfulness John Kabat-Zinn comes about, that complete attention to the present moment on a moment-to-moment basis in a non-judgmental way. We have seen all of that. But to put it in a very precise, concise manner, this whole definition, all it takes is 3 things that you need to remember. That we need to be in the present moment, here and now and here. And we need to be paying attention in a particular way. We need to be non-judgmental. Even as we speak, many a times some people, body will be in the room, but the mind could be elsewhere. Or we could be doing things, looking at our messages as we are listening to this. Yes, that does not mean you're not listening. You are concentrating. You have developed ways to concentrate while you can do a couple of different things, but that does not mean you're mindful. Both body and mind together, and being in a non-judgmental way, and paying attention in a particular way, which is much more than concentration, which is being both body and mind in the same place and listening or doing anything that we are doing in a non-judgmental way. This is where we can truly understand the interconnection between our mind, our body, and our actions, our behavior. This is again would be the stepping stone for the next rewiring tool. What we're going to be talking about is that CBT, cognitive behavior training. This we know, classic definition, and then we will move on to the next one. We know, we have heard, right? I think it's Albert Einstein. He says, we keep doing the same thing again and again, and we expect different results from that. And he says in a joking manner, that is what is called insanity. We are so much attached to our beliefs, it is hard for us to let go. So we keep continuing. We might change our thoughts and feelings and whatnot, but if we have not changed our belief system, those changes are only temporary. And we will revert back. We don't even realize until and unless we question our belief system and we tackle at the level of belief system, which we cannot say. I cannot say how to do that. It has to be so internal, so totally honest to ourselves. That is the only way we will be able to tackle at the belief system level. So until and unless we change our belief system, we can be doing the same old thing in a new way, but keep getting the same old result. It doesn't help. So another way of looking at that definition, second definition, is we have to keep seeing things, people, situations, circumstances, as though we are seeing it for the first time. This is, if we can remember this is where it becomes very easy to separate out the action from the person. And I used to say this is the most difficult. Yes, it is. But because it was most difficult out of the other 2 definitions of mindfulness, I paid more and more and more attention to this definition and to be mindful in this regard. I can tell you, even though it is tough, it is very, very rewarding when we take care of this, trying to see things as though it is for the first time, without any preconceived notions, preconceived biases about a situation, about a person. And it will be much easier to handle your question, Jharna, when we are dealing with giving that, is that criticism in a positive way, positive criticism, constructive criticism. Yeah. So another way of looking at this is, we can only make the mistake once. If we are making the same mistake again and again, it's not a mistake anymore. It has become a habit with us. Because when we make the mistake for the first time, we don't know it's a mistake, because if we knew, we would not be doing that mistake, honestly. And then when we reflect on that, we understand, oh, it's a mistake that we did. But yet it happens to all of us without any exception. It's not just for leaders. It's not just for principals. No, but everybody will go through. It's very important to understand this aspect of definition of mindfulness. We keep making the same mistake again and again because we don't think about it. We cannot reflect if we are at that same mistake again and again, because it has become a habit. And because it has become a habit, we also realize, so we give certain name for it, some negative quality for ourselves, and say, this is how I am. It happens again and again. So be kind to, we need to be kind to ourselves and come out of that even negative labeling. Others don't do it. We do it for ourselves, and others catch that. So we need to be really kind to ourselves first. Only if we are kind to ourselves can we be kind to others, because we can only give what we have inside us. This changing the perspective, you see, classic, right? 6 or 9, depends on how we are looking at it. But the next slide says it all. Just because you're right does not mean I am wrong. It's very, very powerful, because you have not seen my life from my perspective. This is where just being empathetic is not enough. I know it's extremely tough to be empathetic. As leaders, we have to be empathetic, not sympathy. We all know that. But the difference between empathy and compassion is that we can feel what others are feeling. Just that is not enough. We need to try and see how we can help alleviate that suffering that other person is going through without them realizing we are trying to do. That is the trick. That is the talent. That is the sign. And that takes lifelong practice, because we don't want others to feel that they're dependent on us as leaders. We just stay at the empathetic level, being very optimistic, knowing that they will be able to change. Yes, when we are listening in a true empathetic manner, it does help. But at times, some coaxing, some nudging, certain things are really necessary. But it has to be done in such a manner. It is both an art and science behind it. Much more than that, we need to believe that we need to try and alleviate the suffering as though it is happening for us. Not just feeling is going to be enough. So the third definition of mindfulness is, it's again one of our favorites. We have gone through this, how we separate out certain things that what we like to do, and separate out the things that we have to do. And we keep saying, oh, I have to be doing this. That is why I don't have time to take care of myself, even though I like to be doing this, to enjoy certain things in my life, to be learning some musical instrument, to be learning to dance, to sing, all of that. We keep saying, I don't have time, because I like to do those things, but I don't have time. We For many of us, at least if not now, in the past, that is what it used to be, the reason which would have turned it into an excuse. But once we understand what mindfulness is all about, we will never say those things. That divide between what I like to do, what I have to do, that has to drop off. And truly, I can assure you, it will drop off. And then it is when life becomes really beautiful. Yes, you might look tired, you might look haggard, but there is so much energy inside because you're doing everything what you like to do, what you want to do. Even though you don't like certain things, do it in a neutral way, or if possible, change that. If you have to do, might as well like doing it. Start liking to do that. So if we try and do this, this is a beautiful way of facing the reality as it is, not the way we want it to be. We never realize this. How can these two go together? Yeah, I like to do certain things, but I have to do. And so this is where we are tug of war. That is where it is hard for us to accept the reality as it is, because we're separating like to do and have to do. Can we start accepting the reality as it is? And the divide between have to do and want to do or like to do will dissolve. So in a funny way, in a joking manner, we can say, if there are certain things we did not want to do earlier, then we would say, what? I'm supposed to be doing this at this time? That what changes to? Oh, so what? Okay, if that has to be done, I'll take care of it. I'll do it. Who else can help me? We start looking at this from a very different perspective. All of this, I am going to keep repeating this again and again to make path as the goal. Enjoy the process, enjoy every moment. If you cannot enjoy, accept it in a neutral manner so that you will know that your energies are still high. That is one of the easiest way to look at the our yardstick. Okay, now coming back to looking at mindfulness as looking at the reality as it is, few more things that we need to know. That these emotions and feelings are not facts, because you cannot say, you cannot feel this way. I would have said it the other way. Why are you saying it this way? We cannot say that, because there is no right or wrong in feelings, in emotions, or even the way we express. Each one has their own way of expressing. Only when it comes to thoughts, when we put it into a test, we can say thoughts are facts. We can put it into a test and then see if it is a fact, is it true fact or is a false fact? But we cannot say that with respect to feelings. You cannot say, you cannot feel this way, you shouldn't feel this way. That is one clear distinction, Jana, between thoughts and feelings. We have to accept everybody's feelings, everybody's emotions, the way they are. This is the most important quality of a leader. And accept it, even though it is not our style. Accept it in a neutral manner. Even if you cannot accept it in a positive way, that comes later. To enjoy everybody's style and way, that is the next step. At least accept everything in a neutral manner. And our feelings and emotions, especially if they are afflictive emotions and feelings, mostly they come out of our belief system. They come from our beliefs. rather than the reality itself. So question the belief. This is how our whole sessions from and excel to enrich to embody is going. We're going each concept deeper and deeper and deeper. We didn't talk too much about the belief system as much. How do we test our belief system and put it into practice, into everyday lives? The belief system that we need to change. That means how it is very easy to say, I'm accepting everybody equally. It is not about accepting everybody equally. It is about much more than that, in the way we accept mentally and verbally and treating with actions too. So the next aspect is the distorted perception of the reality, because we want to see the reality as we want it to be. That is the distorted perception, and we're trying to see the reality as it is in a mindful way. So the distorted perception, we want the reality as we would like to be, is what is hurting us much more than the reality itself. We have to watch out for all those things, because our mind takes the quality that it is dwelling upon, whatever it is dwelling upon. Again, very powerful concept. So mindfulness is a way to radically transform our emotions and feelings. Again, this can only happen if we practice and practice again and again and again. So that concludes our 3 ways of looking at mindfulness under 3 different definitions. The same thing, I'm going to put it in a very concise manner in a tabular statement, and we will go through this really quickly. This is the summary. The next slide is going to be the summary of all the 3 definitions of mindfulness. What I have done just now, the 3. The first definition would be being in the present moment, both body and mind together, and being in a non-judgmental manner and focusing, concentrating in a particular way, right? For that, the tip is to be in the now, to be in the here and now, now and here, in the present moment. That takes one-pointedness. When we do multitasking, we will be focusing, we will be concentrating, but we are not mindful. Because it is so tough for us as adults to practice. It is so tough for us as leaders to practice this one-pointedness. Then how can we expect our youngsters to practice this, our children to practice this? That one-pointedness is crucial, extremely important. Right away, I know I was thinking like this couple of decades back, but you don't understand. I have to juggle so many things. If I don't do all the things at one time, multitasking, I will never be able to do all the things that I want. I said this when I was a lot younger, but I also realized when I was younger, the way to do more things done is to focus on one thing, one-pointedness as much as possible. Yes, we have to do some multitasking. I'm not saying you can stop. None of us can stop. But the way to do is, especially the important ones, when we are at the meeting, when we are in the classroom, at least these things we can bring it to our kids' notice when they are young, so that it can become a value for that matter. Rather than saying, don't get into the social media, don't do multitasking, don't look into the phone while we are eating at the dining table at home, instead of saying all the don'ts, let it become a value in the family first, so that we can carry that as a value at the organizational level. The second definition is seeing things as though it is the first time. Here, the most important thing is our awareness, to be self-aware. And I don't have to mention too much about it. Just one sentence saying self-awareness is the most important quality of human beings. And that is what distinguishes us from the rest of the animal kingdom. So we can question ourselves, am I being aware in a limiting manner, only being aware on certain things and not on others? If we just question ourselves, and if we are honest, and if we don't know, then we can ask our loved ones in a way, try and tell me if I'm not being aware. And that is the way to improve our self-awareness. That is where I brought that up. Ask for help, not that because we are weak, because we want to remain strong. So the last one is accepting the reality as it is. Simplest thing is that Nike commercial thing. Just do it without thinking. Whatever has to be done at that time, just do it. That's all. Even sometimes if it is not our own role, instead of waiting for somebody, if it is so crucial, I'm saying, we just have to do it, rather than saying we didn't complete because somebody else couldn't do it. But of course, this should not become a habit for somebody else to cop out of their responsibility. I'm not talking at that level. Whatever needs to be done, just do it. Another funny way of looking at this is that then there won't be any dividing roles at home, between man's role and woman's role. We can take it from that, and then whatever needs to be done, we can keep doing it. So all those definitions put together, we have a quick way of looking at mindfulness, not just as a rewiring tool, but a way of life itself. That is how we can make lifestyle changes. I'm just going to conclude in the next few minutes. Before that, yes, what are the yardsticks? How do we know we are doing things right? And what is it that we're going to be looking upon? That FIR, the frequency of whatever we are trying to train our minds, whichever emotion, we can just say emotion management in general, the frequency of such afflictive emotions will come down. The intensity of those such emotions will be diminished, and the recovery time will be very short. That is the general yardstick. But we know our self-awareness gets heightened, and we move from being reactive to be proactive, and also from reactive to be responding. Even before responding, proactive is even a nicer way than just respond. Then we don't even need to respond many times if we are proactive. And we move away from mental automatism to deliberately and in a willful manner, in a conscious manner, to be making the decisions, not in just in an automatic manner. And our worldview changes. We won't just look at things either, oh, this is either 6 or 9, not from just two perspectives, but seeing everything as though there are many different possibilities waiting to happen. We will start recognizing this each and every opportunity we get. That is the surest way of knowing that we are on the right track. If we can come out of that black and white thinking, just two ways of looking at it, from that to many different ways of dealing with a situation or a person itself. And ultimately it says you can end suffering. Suffering is nothing but repeating that mental automatism, keeps happening. Whatever that a situation has happened, it keeps repeating in our head. When it does that, that is mental automatism. That is what causes suffering. When that stops, yes, that heart will still be there until either we forgive ourselves or forgive that somebody else. When it comes to interpersonal relationships, then it will be cleared completely. Until then, there is a mathematical formula how we can end suffering, because pain is always there, right? Pain times resistance is suffering. When you don't resist the pain, that becomes zero. Pain times zero becomes zero. There is no suffering. But pain remains, and that we need to actively, over a period of time, that's a different process altogether. Not just being mindful, that is a different process, how to overcome that pain. We're not going to get into that, but that is how we can end suffering in a most scientific way. So we have seen this slide. I've given the thought experiment data in the sense, what are the common challenges that we all have and what are the possible solutions that we gave. So if you focus, it's all about if only, oh, as long as I had this, it would be fine. All those, no more as long as solutions, no more of if only solutions will arise. We will just deal with it as it comes, accepting as it is. When that happens, then we are able to enjoy life more fully, and we will be able to utilize our innate potential to the fullest extent possible. And that is how we keep evolving. So which also means we don't have to be at the mercy of our old ways, limiting ways, afflictive ways of thinking and feeling, which means we don't have to be at the mercy of our old habits as long as we take care of the belief system. So all of this starts from a single thought. All we need to do is to take care of one thought at a time. That is all. Starts from a single thought, but it has to end in action. And not planning to do it sometime when we have more time, but it has to happen now. Here and now, now and here. I'm just going to close with a statement which is so meaningful. And I will open up the floor for question and answers, because this also comes from the person whom we just recently lost him, Thich Nhat Hanh. It's very, very powerful. We need to live life fully, because life happens only in the present moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie. We will take